A great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, heidi-ho, everybody. Glad you have joined here together, where we will peacefully and patriotically gather together and talk about the news of the day. That's what we do here on the Lakey Unleashed Daily Update. Glad to have you here. Lots of new folks join us, not just on the podcast, but the live stream. Podcast, broadcast, and live stream. We hit all of them, and we're glad to have all of you do it. By the end of this day, thousands of earballs will hear this show and or see this show, and we're glad to have you. Everybody new joins us on the live stream. We're watching it later in the day. Maybe you're listening on the Apple Podcast or the iHeartRadio feed later in the day. Whenever it is you're listening and or watching, glad to have you. And again, we're here to peacefully and patriotically explore the news of the day and talk to some great guests. It's Tuesday, October the 21st, year of our Lord 2025. Pleasure to be here. Anybody ever written down the wrong date and then kind of took a look at it and say, I think that's the wrong date? I did that this morning as I was putting what we call the rundown together, making notes so producer Chad knows what I'm going to be yapping about. And I wrote down it's October 21st, 2005. And I'm sitting there looking, going, that didn't look right. Something's not right. And then finally hit me 2025. I left the 2 off there. Somehow my fingers got a little bit Twitter-pated and hit the wrong button there. But I was saying, oh, that's not that long ago. Wouldn't be that noticeable. Then I said, oh, my son had just been born in 2005. So it's just, isn't it weird that those dates they don't seem that far away, then you think, oh gosh, that was 20 years ago. Anyway, good to have you here. It's Tuesday morning, almost to Wednesday, not quite hump day, so we don't get to celebrate like that, but we do get to celebrate being together, just you and me. Laura Cardo's going to be on the program today. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. Also, candidate for Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Dr. Josh McConkey is going to be coming up here in just a minute as well. So don't go anywhere. He's up at 15 after the hour, so just a couple of minutes away. I think he's in the green room. We'll get him on early. Let's go some news of the day. What do you say? Everybody ready for the news? We need music. That breaking news. Does anybody really have breaking news anymore, by the way? Every time you turn on the Fox, it says a news alert, and it's the same story they've been running. It's not really an alert anymore after you have to do it. Remember the days of ABC, NBC, CBS, in which they'd say, we interrupt this program for a very special news broadcast, and you knew something had happened. Something big had happened when you got that. And now with the 24-hour news cycle, it's just the Fox news alert. And it's like the boy that cried wolf. So it's kind of like an alarm on a car. You can walk through a parking lot, the darn alarms go beep, beep, and no one cares because you've heard it so often. No one's stealing the damn car. No one is stealing the car. All right, let's go through the news and get to our first guest of the morning. One news story I want to get to. You ready for this? Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up during the old shutdown. That's right. Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up. Democrats, I think, thought that maybe, hey, they're going to blame Donald Trump. The Republicans will always cave on this. And guess what? Republicans are not caving because Republicans evidently are not suffering in the polls and or the approval rating right now. So there is that. That has left shock and trepidation supposedly behind the scenes with Democrats going, well, this is not working out very well. We have the No Kings protest. We deem him as a tyrant. And yet every time the polling data comes out, Donald Trump seems to have increased in his standing with America. It's up by 1 point. This time in his presidency, first term of the presidency, he was down by 2 or 3 points during the shutdown. So this is not affecting him, and it's driving some people crazy that it's not affecting him. The poll numbers show that Donald Trump approval numbers are rising. There is some fallout for the No Kings protest. Another headline, school is scrambling because another teacher goes viral. Isn't it amazing and sad what we've learned about our teachers over the last many years? Since the booger cootie virus, we known as the COVID-19 pandemic, Since those days when the kids got all sent home with an iPad or a laptop and told that they had to log in to see their teachers teach, and then the speakers were on in the house and you heard some of the crap that was in the curriculum they were being taught by teachers, it raised a parent's awareness. Well, this weekend's No Kings protest turned into a royal pain for a Chicago elementary teacher. Nathan Hale Elementary has gone social media dark after one of its teachers was identified as the woman who made a mockery of the assassination of a conservative organizer that we know as Charlie Kirk. This is all according to the UK Daily Mail. Not much about it when it comes to the U.S. mainstream, or should we say lamestream media. The Western Journal is reporting it. The Gateway Pundit is reporting it. According to the Daily Mail, with a significant U.S. presence from the British-based newspaper, the teacher at Nathan Hale Elementary School is Lucy Martinez, and she was participating in the No Kings demonstration organized internationally by progressives, George Soros types, railing against Trump administration when a truck flying by with a flag in honor of Kirk drove past. Well, Martinez pointed a finger at her neck and mouthed the words "bang, bang," and it is, you can find it on the Twitter feed Libs of TikTok. She's out there, Big Lucy's out there, and she's trying to pretend and mock the death of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The video has gone viral. Libs of TikTok got about 3.4 million views on it as far as Monday afternoon. Nathan Hale Elementary has now shuttered its website. Its account is no longer available. With a phone call to the school, they got a recording stating that the voicemail box is full, asking callers to try again. So Nathan Hale Elementary School in Chicago is not making comment as to what's happening to old Big Lucy. But Big Lucy out there on the street acting an ass of herself, hopefully going to have to pay the price for that when it comes to a job. Nathan Hale Elementary in Chicago is a school, and they have cut down their social media pages. They're not answering their phone, and they're hoping it all goes away, but unfortunately, it's not going to go away. All right, here's another story. The mediators, Jared Kushner, Mr. Witkoff, and I think J.D. Vance have all headed to the Middle East as the wobbling peace deal that we had celebrated is starting to wobble a little bit. Hamas is refusing to disarm. They've been slow rolling the release of remains. They say they've had to get help. They didn't know where they were at. And I kind of understand that, but they won't disarm, and they've been executing people systematically on the street. All these No Kings protesters that used to shout, "Free Palestine! Free Palestine!" Well, guess who's killing the Palestinians on the streets of Gaza? It's Hamas. Yeah, so why don't you go and protest Hamas and see if we can free Palestine from Hamas, and that would make it a heck of a lot better area to be in. But the peace negotiators have returned, trying to hold this thing together because Israel's about ready to unleash holy hell, and President Trump has already said, if you don't disarm yourself, we will disarm you. Let's take a break from the serious news of the day and let you know what today is. It's National Sasquatch Appreciation Day. Well, it's more of a National Sasquatch Awareness Day. I'm not referring to Big Lucy, who was shooting herself, pretending to shoot herself in the streets there of Chicago. A new report says that Americans take this time, and a lot of people follow the Sasquatch awareness, the Bigfoot, if you will, and it's a day that will make awareness of it, and there's certain areas of town or areas of the nation that will be inundated with visitors today, or at least a few people looking for the Sasquatch. By the way, I take that back. This was on my notes yesterday. Yesterday was National Sasquatch Awareness Day, and today's the day we're talking about it because it's breaking news, right? We were busy yesterday. New report has ranked the places in America where you're can we say that word statistically? There, got it out third time. Statistically most likely to spot the Bigfoot. And it's you need to be no more remote than just downtown Indianapolis. That made the list of places you're most likely to see Bigfoot. To rank each state, though, they looked at Bigfoot sightings. They looked at forestry coverage, the amount of temperature, and the ideal Bigfoot temperature evidently is about 55 degrees based on creatures of similar body types. So, ladies and gentlemen, a drum roll, please, if you want to go celebrate National Sasquatch Awareness Day. The 10 U.S. states to see the Sasquatch. Thank you for the drum roll. Washington, West Virginia, Oregon, British Columbia, Canada. That's just north of Washington, so it makes sense. Michigan's a good place to see the Sasquatch. Is that Gretchen Whitmer? No, that's different. Maine, Pennsylvania, Idaho, Ohio, Massachusetts. And then the provinces in Canada where you're least likely to find states or provinces where you're least likely to find Bigfoot, if you're looking, Quebec, Canada, north of Vermont and New Hampshire area, Maryland, or Maryland, as we like to call it, Arizona, hard to find Sasquatch out, too hot in Arizona. Alberta, above central Montana on the map. That's not going to happen. You may find some swamp creatures, but you're not going to find a Sasquatch in Louisiana, Manitoba, which is just a part of north of Minnesota, Canadian province. Indiana, I don't know. That some people said they did think they saw it in downtown Indianapolis. I'm not sure. California, unless you're on the Bigfoot movie set in Hollywood, you're not going to see him. Sasquatch doesn't like real cold Alaska. And number 10 of the places you're probably not going to find Sasquatch on Sasquatch Awareness Day is Wyoming. Now, here's a question for you, and I mean this sincerely. It's only a Sasquatch Awareness Day because some people believe in Bigfoot. And I don't fault you. I mean, some people actually believe Dr. Fauci. So a lot of folks believe a lot of weird things, right? Anybody out there believe in Bigfoot? Better yet, have any of you had a Bigfoot sighting? Think of all the mythical monsters out there. I mentioned the abominable snowman, the Yeti, as producer Chad informed me that was a real legend. The Chupacabra is another one. The Loch Ness Monster. I have to ask you, do you believe, I want you to be honest, there'll be no shaming people. Don't tell them they're wrong. Maybe it's right. Does Bigfoot really exist? So I'm just asking, does Bigfoot really exist? And why do you think so? And have you ever had an encounter with the Bigfoot? Just asking. And I'm not asking about your ex-wife either. The Bigfoot, the monster, the Sasquatch. So help us out with that. Love to get that's your comment. Give us your tales and your and your beliefs regarding the Bigfoot or other mythical monsters that you think might actually exist. And there's a lot of things that we're told don't exist, and then we find out they do. Remember, at the height of COVID, we found out that there was unidentified flying objects that the military was fully aware of. So don't discount the fact that maybe there's some of these, quote, mythical creatures that are actually not so mythical and they're roaming the forest somewhere near you. If you've ever had a encounter, I thought you saw it. I've seen some of those photos and I've watched some of the documentaries out there, and it could be believable. I'm just asking you, do you believe Bigfoot exists? And we only ask this not because we're trying to spread any kind of theories about that or take a stance on it editorially, but we're just simply asking you because it's National Sasquatch Awareness Day. So everybody let me know if you have seen Sasquatch, if you believe in Sasquatch, if you believe in Bigfoot. Love to hear your tales on that. The Yeti, Chupacabra, all of these things that are there. By the way, Colorado did not make the list where I'm at of places that you're likely to see the Sasquatch. But if you've seen, I know a lot of you are hikers and bikers and you like to camp up in the mountains in the warm weather in Colorado, and maybe let me know. We got a lot of forest covered, national forest here. So if you've seen the Bigfoot, I want to hear the tale. Just comment right there wherever you are at Facebook, and we will bring those comments right up. All right, let me bring my first guest up of the morning. I got some more headlines we're going to dip right into here in just a second, but now we're going to take a break from my monotone and dulcet tones. Can you be monotone and dulcet? I think you can. Dr. Josh McConkey has been on the show. He's a Air Force colonel and the author of a book that we'll talk about here in just a moment about Be the Weight Behind the Spear. He's been on the show, but he's also a candidate for lieutenant governor of North Carolina. Dr. Josh McConkey joins me from the stage on the stage now. Dr. McConkey, welcome back, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thank you very much.
You believe in Bigfoot? I got to ask you.
I grew up in Nebraska, not a lot of big Bigfoot out there, but I served with the Combat Rescue Squadron in Portland, Oregon, and we've got a big Sasquatch on the patch. So,
okay, well, you got to be very careful. That sounds like the name of a restaurant, Sasquatch on the Patch or something. I don't know. All right, let's talk. First of all, I want to talk about your book. Let's just talk about that right up front. You've written a book about Be the Weight Behind the Spear. We'll talk about your candidacy for lieutenant governor, et cetera, and some other topics. But talk about the book, Be the Weight Behind the Spear.
Yeah, this is my personal leadership ethos. So as a military commander, I've led men and women, been in the service for 23 years. I've seen great leadership. I've seen some bad leadership as well. But this book is my ethos. And when you take an entire generation, you shut them out of school, you shut them out of churches and, burn businesses to the ground, shut these kids out of society. There's been a huge mental health crisis. And so, as an emergency doctor, I see all the anxiety, the depression, and unfortunately, the suicides. And so, this book is my call to action for people to engage their communities. And this is my prescription to address those issues and solve those problems.
Let's talk real quick about the prescription. People need to read the book, but it seems to be. I'm just amazed at how many parents and/or voters have not kicked back on some of these local politicians. Some have that locked their kids down. These governors that kick kids out of school. The mental health crisis. Our Children's Hospital here had declared that we were in a mental health crisis and emergency. They were out of beds for kids needing mental health care during the height of COVID. And it seems as if people have just moved merrily along, and people that brought about that type of those actions in society and in elected office, they've not been punished. What needs to change that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past?
Boy, those policy failures have come home to roost. And if you thought things were bad during COVID, it's exponentially worse now because those kids that went through that are now, you know, roll back the clock forward here about 4 years. And, as an emergency physician, I see every single day in my emergency room, just children and young adults that just sit there and languish in the emergency department because there's no mental health resources. There's no beds available. 3 weeks ago, I had a 14-year-old that committed suicide. My son is 14 years old.
Wow.
That hits very close to home. And we have to hold our politicians, accountable for that. So right here in North Carolina, we got Roy Cooper, who was governor, and now he wants a promotion for lieutenant governor, which is ridiculous. Josh Stein, the attorney general, is now our governor, and Rachel Hunt is the lieutenant governor, and she was in the legislator at that time. They all watched it burn to the ground. They shut our kids out of schools and churches, and these are the results. So we need to get them out of office. They have to be held accountable.
Again, the voice of Dr. Josh McConkey. He's running for lieutenant governor in North Carolina. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. He's a decorated former commander, U.S. Air Force Reserve officer, emergency physician, and author of the Pulitzer Prize-nominated book called Be the Weight Behind the Spear, where he puts his leadership and operational experience and into some life lessons for all of us. Let's talk about some things that are happening around the globe. The diplomacy that is happening in the Middle East. Last week, we all celebrated a ceasefire, the release of a lot of hostages and several remains of hostages by the Hamas terrorist group. But Hamas has not entered very nicely into phase two. Disarming seems to be beneath them and beyond them. They're not going to do that. And they're also systematically killing Palestinians on the streets that they think are traitors to their cause. Is this peace in the Middle East going to hold, Dr. McConkey?
Boy, I know everyone is certainly watching. Last week was a huge celebration seeing all 20 of those living hostages returned. I mean, and that was really probably the biggest point for that. Now, Hamas is a terrorist organization. I don't think anybody really trusts them as far as they could throw them. Them executing Palestinians right there, it's horrific to watch. I don't know if anyone really expected anything different, but they've had their come to Jesus moment here, and they've had their opportunity. And if they don't disarm, and stop killing their own Palestinians, I think Trump's going to get involved there. We're going to take care of it for them with Israel. So,
not everything has to be partisan, but I do find it interesting that when Israel was there defending their own self after the October 7th attack, the American left chanting on the streets, "It's a genocide! It's a genocide!" You literally have genocide occurring at the hands of the people they thought were being genocided, and the American left is now saying, "No, never mind about that Palestine thing. No kings, no kings." It is amazing how they turn on a dime, and I don't think the American left is all that concerned about the people of Palestine because you're awfully quiet now about the murders happening on the streets there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a fundamental failure to understand history and what Hamas was all about. Watching those, the No Kings protest is just, it's laughable. All right. The entire country, we had 77 million people vote for these exact policies and for President Trump. It's just kind of this weird, bizarre Trump derangement syndrome where everything he does is evil and he's a dictator and he's a king. That's what the majority of the country voted for. So
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
You spend a lot of time and great service to our country. Thank you for that. A couple of weeks ago, Pete Hegseth came out and said, hey, we're going to get back in shape as the troops. We're not going to worry about transgenders. We're not going to worry about this. We're going to be tough. We're going to be badasses, if you will. We're going to get back to fighting strength, and we're not going to just, oh, you're a girl, you get to do it different. We have standards in the military. And you would think that all of us would go, man, American defense is so important. What a wonderful thing this is. But the media, because they have this derangement syndrome, and the left goes, oh my God, he's fat shaming. Can you believe he doesn't like tubby people? It's give me your thoughts on the fitness requirements or the reinstitution of a fitness standard that's pretty strict by the U.S. military. And Pete Hegseth, is this the redefining military fitness going to bring about better leadership?
This is just returning to the standards that we've always had. Like nothing's really changed. The Biden years were very bizarre. It was very difficult. I served as a military commander, and I follow civilian-led leadership. That's what our Constitution is about, and I supported the Constitution. I had to keep my mouth shut and follow orders. I did separate several members of my squadron for not maintaining those standards. And then when you see senior leadership that isn't held to the same standard, it's demoralizing. It's not good for morale. And when you're talking about a mission of just delivering lethality when called upon, it's a terrible mission. No one wants to do that mission. I've carried body bags of American heroes off battlefields in Iraq, and you have to have standards. So you put it just very simple. I don't care if you're a man or woman or how you identify. If you can carry a 200-pound man off the front line, then you can serve in a combat role. Right? If you can't do that, someone's going to die. These are life or death issues. And, if you get injured, you take a bullet for this country or step on an IED, you have to be able to do certain physical things. And, if a woman can carry that 200-pound man off the battlefield, drag him back to a battalion aid station, then fantastic. That's great. Just meet the standard. Just meet the standard. It's plain and simple.
Those of you listening later in the day and can't read the screen because you're on the podcast platform, that's the voice of Air Force Colonel and combat physician Josh McConkey. He's the author of an award-winning best-selling book called Be the Weight Behind the Spear. Dr. McConkey, real quick, your military service has you logged with over 340 hours as a flight surgeon, 90 combat hours in rotor wing medical evacuation and air assault missions in the Middle East. You come back, you enter more into civilian life, and you decide to write a book about to be the weight behind the spear. Talk about, you get back in time, you settle back in with your family, you get back to your career, and something starts tickling inside of you. You say, I got to write a book. What was it that caused you to go, I've got to get this out?
Well, returning from Iraq was very difficult. Trying to reintegrate after you're taking, care of men and women taking bullets for the country. You come back to just civilian life. Any veteran out there who served in combat really knows what I'm talking about, and it's difficult. But when I see the mental health crisis that's going on in the United States right now, it was caused by bad policy. And you see these children shut out of schools and churches and communities, and then I lead these individuals. So I've got like 18 to 25-year-old men and women that lack resiliency skills, their communication skills, and it's just a perfect storm of, parenting in the days of, everybody's a winner, everyone gets a participation trophy. That's not real life. There's nothing wrong with losing as long as you learn from it. So you have to paint that picture of like, push yourself. Losing isn't always bad. If you're not failing at something, you're probably not pushing yourself far enough. So between that and then just like the whole COVID shutdown, the mental health crisis is out of control. And I just felt like I had to do something. So I wrote that book, to help fix that problem. That's my prescription for the issue. And, the best resource that we have in our country, it's our people. It's teachers, coaches, volunteers, and families. That's what sets America apart. I just want people to engage their communities and help this generation. We need them to be successful.
I have one final question for you, Dr. Josh McConkey. Be the way behind the spear. We'll tell you how to get the book, his website, in just a second. But I'm watching these No Kings protests this weekend, and there were a lot of old people. There's some geriatrics out there, and some walkers and some depends, etc. But there were some people that were out there that were youngsters, and I saw that a lot of them do Man on the Streets interview. Why are you protesting? None of them knew what they were protesting. When you watch that, I guess we look at the last election and we see that young people turned and big fans of Donald Trump, but yet on occasion you see these youngsters out on the streets, these university students with blue hair, etc. And I just have to ask. Are these people, are these kids that are chanting on the streets about things they don't understand? Is this the offspring of people who bad parenting? Is this the offspring of bad education? Is this just are these just paid protesters? I mean, do you look and go, oh my God, we're doomed as a country? Look at these youngsters out there.
No, I think we really stood up in 2024. I mean, 77 million people stood up. We've had enough. Social media does have these rabbit holes that people can fall into. They can be radicalized. And so that you're probably just seeing a result of some people that just aren't very adept at evaluating the sources that they're seeing on social media. We've never had a king in America. We don't have kings. We have a constitution. So
it just looked like if I was doing a diagnosis, I'm like, okay, we have a lot of mental health diagnoses out here on the streets of America today. I'm not the doctor, you are.
Certainly a part to play on that. Trump derangement syndrome, certainly.
It is. Dr. Josh McConkey. The name of the book is called Be the Weight Behind the Spear. If folks want to get a book, of course, all the place fine books are sold. But I believe you're also out there. You have a website and some presence online. What's that?
Yes, sir. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, we've got the audiobook, the ebook, and the paperback. If you go to weightbehindthespear.com, WEIGHT, weightbehindthespear.com. We're on Instagram, Josh McConkey, MD, on X and Twitter, McConkey007. Even got a TikTok account now. So,
all right, are you doing the TikTok dances or anything like that?
I haven't done any dances on there. I've got some great videos, just trying to get people motivated and get involved in your community. Maybe I'll do some dance ones next.
Josh McConkey, appreciate it. Be the Weight Behind the Spear is the name of his book. Appreciate you hopping on here this morning. And again, if you're listening later in the day, you don't see his name on the screen, it's McConkey, and I'll spell it out for you because I can, but I'm going to cheat here because I need to see. By the way, do everybody like the new readers I showed you yesterday? Yeah, I thought so. McConkey, Air Force Colonel and author of the book called Be the Weight Behind the Spear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed it, I told you I searched for online I decided for some things up close like menus, and I sometimes decided I wanted a reader. I wanted some readers, and so I looked on Amazon, and I typed in cool, stylish readers for men. And then I put the caveat with big heads because I have a large noggin. My mother no joke, I hate to be personal. She used to want to have many children. And then she had me. She was done. Yeah, it was big. It was big. And it was real big. So I got the readers. They showed up. And ladies and gentlemen, Laura Carno's a great fashionista herself. And so I got the clear version. And these were for the big head. And boy, does the screen look better. How you like it? I know some of you are stumbling in your walk with the Lord. Don't do that. There's my new. I think they're fantastic. I don't think they look great on me, but I think they're fantastic because my phone I can see things. Like I didn't realize how many people texted me and send emojis, and I thought they were all smiley faces. There's some of you that send like flipping me off at the end of the emoji. It's not very nice. I don't like that. I can see it now. By the way, I got him too strong. Laura Carno's going to join me on the stage here. I didn't know if I should get the 1.5 or times 1. I got like 2.5 or 3. You stand up with these things on your head and you're not looking close. You're going to be nauseous. Laura Carno, how do you like them?
That's like a microscope.
It is. It really is. If I was a kid, I could get an animal on the sidewalk like a little worm and burn it with the sun like you used to magnifying glass.
Yeah, no, I think they look very stylish, and it never occurred to me before you just said that you have a big head. But that's a significantly sized noggin to hold that brain.
It's inflammation. That's all I can say. I need a detox. It's inflammation. But that is a true story. My mother wanted many kids, and after I was born, every time I went to the pediatrician, she said, I don't remember. She said the doctors would come in and they'd bring like the interns and the residents and go, could we measure his head? And like my whole childhood, they were measuring my head.
We should see baby pictures. I want to see that huge noggin on baby Jimmy Lakey.
It was a cute noggin. It was this size, but I was 6 months old.
Do you know how much you weighed when you were born?
Like almost 10 pounds or something.
Yeah, I was a 10-pounder too.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
maybe closer to 11. I think it's 10 and a half. I don't know. I was a big cat. I was
Yeah.
a big child to come down that chute that's not that big. Sorry.
Jimmy, oh my God. You don't say this with your other guests.
Things just come to me. Let me get my
Lord
glasses
have
back on.
mercy. Lord have mercy.
Roger says your noggin has its own gravitational pull, and you look like Harry Carey with those on. That's what I get, Harry Carey. I could have done the black frames. I did the clear frames.
Yeah, the black frames, like a lot of people, if you look at
Yeah.
like Fox News personalities or whatever, they're all doing the big thick black frames to look extra smart.
Well, maybe I'm going to do. They're $16 on Amazon. I think I can maybe get the black frames. Yeah, but I may get them less strong.
The size of your noggin equals your intelligence, so you don't need big black framed glasses to look smarter because the size of your brain shows people how smart you are.
Yeah, take that, Delilah. Take that.
Take that.
Yeah, take that. Yeah. All right, Laura Cardo. Good morning to you. How the heck are you?
Good. It's windy out here, and I'm just noticing what a mess my hair is. So there you go.
I can see you're still homeless. I can see you're still broadcasting from the garage.
Yeah.
Any hope of a home coming soon?
We're hoping for Christmas.
Well, I'm dreaming of Laura having a house for Christmas. That's going to be on my. That's going to
So
be on my
is
Christmas
she.
card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is she.
All right. Have you and Bill? Are you guys surviving this small space? Is therapy erupting here? Because you're living in like a trailer, a little motorhome.
We are. So yeah, everything's fine. We are married almost 26 years, very happily. And here's what I would say. We get along very well. We have a very peaceful relationship. Here's what I would say. If your marriage is on the rocks and you say, you know what we should do to improve our marriage? Let's go live in a trailer together. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You don't do that. You need way more grace for one another than a marriage on the rocks. So yes, we're fine. Everybody who knows us and has been friends with us for a while, they say you're going to be fine. You guys get along great. So it's fine. The bed's not as comfortable as I would like. That's my
All right.
of the day.
Christmas, that's coming soon. That's 2 months away. It could be ready.
I know.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. People are kissing up to you. Stacy says, I look like the smart kid in class with the glasses. And Laura is so nice. They never say that about me. They never say that about me, do they? No, they don't. All right, Laura, let's bring you back to school safety. Colorado, right here, Jefferson County. That's where the Evergreen High School shooting just happened a couple of weeks ago. You have a teacher that's on the record of making a comment that, hey, all you parents, settle down. School safety is a privilege. It's not a right. Are we misquoting this person?
Nope. And it's been a little bit more than a month, if you can believe that, since the Evergreen High School shooting. Excuse me. So this is there was a school board meeting in Jefferson County. It's Jefferson County, Colorado. A school board meeting, like maybe a day or so after the shooting. Everybody was still, in the throes of it. And so there wasn't really an organized effort to go to the Jefferson County School Board meeting. Now here's, the one a month later, and the parents were very organized. So there were a lot of parents saying, my child has a right to be safe. Now, if you want to talk about constitutional rights, is there a right for a child to be safe? I mean, we can quibble on the words. I will rephrase it differently for those who are going to quibble on the finer points of the Constitution. Parents have an expectation that children are safe at school, and they should have an expectation that school board members have that as a very high priority. And the head of security for Jeffco says it is our highest priority. So they have an expectation. This school board member said it's a privilege. Being safe is a privilege, not a right. And she had said, and it's outside of the clips that are out there, but she said in another part of the meeting that if all kids can't be safe, then no kids can be safe. Something to that effect. And my sense, and she has green hair and she has rainbow stickers everywhere. My sense is that she's saying, if kids in poor areas can't be safe, then kids in nice areas can't be safe. My sense is, she didn't say that, but my sense is that's where she was going with that. But like, read the room, lady. telling a whole bunch of parents, including John Castillo, whose child died in a previous school shooting, Kendra Castillo, to listen to these people and then to say it's a privilege, not a right. And this is the clip that has been making the rounds. And if folks outside of the Denver media market are looking for it, there's stories I linked to one on Channel 7, Denver 7, that's just ridiculous. And I'll say this one last thing about it. If the school district is saying there is no higher priority than the safety of our children, then everything needs to be on the table, Jimmy. Whether you like what I do or not, and what I do, training armed school staff, whether you like that or not, you have to be willing to discuss everything, and not say, okay, there's some things we're not even going to discuss. So that's the last thing I'll say on that. It's a mess over there.
Lori, look, Jefferson County, those who are not in Colorado, or even if you are, you don't know, Jefferson County and Poudre schools are probably two of the worst when it comes to crazies running the whole thing. But what is it about our teachers? I just talked about this Lucy Martinez that was protesting in Chicago for No King's Day. And Big Lucy there was pretending that she was shooting herself in the neck and going bang, bang, imitating the death of Charlie Kirk. Find out this is an elementary school teacher. You got this green-haired teacher in Jeffco that says, it's a privilege, not a right. How do we get our public schools cleaned up? Because these are not people that I really want to. If I said an elementary age child, I wouldn't want these people around my kid. What do we do to purge these folks out of the school systems and get real people that are reasonable in their teaching?
Yeah, parents need to make it very clear to their school board and their superintendents that they will not abide people who wish death on others to teach their children or be on their school boards. I'm old enough to remember when people wishing others dead was frowned upon everywhere in society. And now it seems like that's only on the right, where, and there were, as you were playing a bunch of stuff from No King's rallies and showing some of the memes and stuff, congratulations, we still don't have a king. There are people every day wishing death on the president. And somebody at one of these rallies said, I don't know why in this day and age, somebody couldn't have been better at shooting the president.
Yeah.
Why are we living with something like this where somebody couldn't even do that correctly? And you're like, what is wrong with you? Where are her parents to slap her upside the head and say, that is unacceptable behavior? And if you've got that stuff going on in your mind, number one, get therapy. Number two, don't say it out loud, because this is a society that, again, does not abide people wishing death on others.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to be said.
The voice of Laura Carno, if you're listening later in the day on the podcast version, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart. By the way, the podcast is doing quite well. We looked at the numbers last week, and we're booming out there. So a lot of you, thousands of earballs, will hear the show by the end of the day, and so we're glad to have you there. Laura, let's switch gears here. Corinne Jean-Pierre, maybe remember her. She was on her book tour. She talking about Joe Biden, still defending the honor of Joe Biden and thinking that Joe Biden he was there every day. By the way, I don't know if you saw some of her interviews. I kind of liked her hair. Little change up.
Yeah, I'm glad you're noticing her hair.
You're welcome.
That's very sensitive of you. So she's got a book and she's been doing the circuit. So she was on a program, and the host of the program says Biden talked way less to the press than Donald Trump does. Now, anybody who's been alive for more than 5 minutes knows that. Yeah. He called a lid at noon every day so he could go take a nap and have some pudding. He barely was present with the press. And when he was, it was a disaster area. It was must-see TV. I always watched him. So he says, Biden talked to the press way less than Donald Trump does. And Corinne Jean-Pierre said, that's not true. You weren't paying attention to what we were doing at the White House. The president spoke to the American people a couple times a week. No, that didn't happen. Don't gaslight us, sister. We all have eyes and we all have ears, and we've all been alive more than 5 minutes. Yeah. It's a lie. And I'm glad that at least some hosts out there are calling her on it and saying, no, that's not true.
That's not true. It's fascinating to watch. You had what's her name? Kamala Harris. She put out her book, and now you got KJP. And I haven't read all the excerpts from. I'm not going to read it cover to cover, but I think what they're admitting, the argument seems to be dancing on the head of a needle as to whether you're going. Well, he was healthy, he was sane. But other than that, they're both very bitter right now. Kamala's bitter that she didn't get enough support. KJP's angry at the Democrat Party so much that she went Democrat. I guess that's my takeaway is this party of love and harmony and peace and inclusion, the Democrat Party, has ticked off two big women there.
Oh yeah, they're pissed off, and potentially rightly so. Although Kamala Harris needs to look in the mirror and see how. Oh gosh, what a horrible candidate she was. And she was on with, trying to remember who it was, where she said that she was people say I was the most qualified candidate ever for president. And the host, I forget her name, a woman, said, I like that you throw in the people say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, and by the way, just as a quick aside on Kamala Harris, these No Kings rallies over the weekend, Kamala Harris was literally anointed the presidential nominee of the Democrat Party without a single friggin' vote.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about people anointing a king or a queen in this case. I think they protested too much.
I want to ask you this question. Speaking of those two women that are black women angry with the party, I noticed with the footage, and the media doesn't point this out, of the No Kings protest, if I didn't happen to stumble on one, but pretty much it was a bunch of crackers out there, a bunch of white people. Where were the people of color saying that Donald Trump's a king? Because I've seen a lot of them come out and say, thank you, Mr. President, for sending the military out, the National Guard out to help us in Washington, D.C. It was just interesting that if that were a group of Republicans or Trump supporters or MAGA people, and it was that cracker Lily White, the media would have made a deal about it and said, so this shows you that they're white supremacists, right? I wonder if they noticed that they did not necessarily have diversity, equity, and inclusion, unless you count the different colors of hairstyles on the media. That's the only diversity you had there.
Yeah, it was really noticeable. While the mainstream media didn't much cover it, Twitter was hilarious, and that's the place to go for your hilarity when things like this are going on. And Twitter, many people on Twitter were calling it the AARP rallies and that sort of thing. But you're exactly right. Somebody on Twitter, I don't know if this is true or not true, but again, I get my amusement from Twitter. Somebody said that it's all only old people because now that that all the NGOs have been doged out of USAID, nobody's paying the young people to be at these rallies. And I was like, okay, that's actually plausible. I don't know if it's true, but it was amusing and plausible.
Well, notice that right after those NGOs got folded up, we heard that the DNC was out of money. And we heard that, and they said, "Oh, we had to pay off Kamala's debts." But it's just amazing how they kind of go hand in hand. Fascinating. All right, Laura Carno, are you going to read the KJP book, or just going to watch for the reports on the news?
No. I'll keep an eye out for pieces that come out, passages that come out, and interviews where she says stupid things. Because again, I need Twitter to amuse me because politics is so weird these days. I need amusement from it. But I would not spend one dime on something that goes to a woman who lied to us for the better part of 4 years about the occupant of the White House who was nearly a dead man.
I'm starting to wonder if KJP and Kamala are going to get jealous of each other. You know, women can be catty with each other. And if one of them starts stealing the spotlight from the other, this could be very interesting. Kamala versus Corinne. It could be a cage match.
Yeah, you don't see that cattiness as much on the right because we don't look at elected officials or other folks and say, okay, that one's a man and that one's a woman and that one's a person of color. We don't have those buckets. Yeah. We're like, that's a successful person. Yay, that's somebody that I don't want representing us. Yeah. Boo. But we don't put them in the buckets because we don't care.
Kamala and Corinne, who's going to get the most press here now. Kamala's had the spotlight on her book for a while. We'll see how far KJP gets. I think Kamala's probably going to still outshine Corinne Jean-Pierre, outshine her, but we'll find out how that works out. Laura, you're giving away 2 sidearms and a side of beef, and there's not much time to get that. All time's running out.
I almost said 6 minutes, not 6 minutes. 6 days. Yes, and it's a Shadow Systems and a CZ. Let's see, Shadow Systems pistol, a CZ Scorpion, which is a very cool gun. You need to go to fastercolorado.org and look at that. And then, yes, a side of beef raised right here in Southern Colorado by one of our sponsors. And it's delicious. And the last guy that won it, he, because you can choose, he wanted all of the organ meat.
Oh, yeah.
You like organ meat?
Well, I'm on this weight loss thing, and I've been reading that one of the things that's brought about a lot of health problems and inflammation is in the last 50 years, the eating of organ meat, including beef liver, has really gone downhill, and health has gone to hell in a handbasket too. So it's not just pharmaceuticals and the processed foods, but those natural things that we used to eat different parts of the cow, but now you don't eat all the parts of the cow.
Well, you're welcome to. And the winner of the sweepstakes package is welcome to say yes to organ meat or no to organ meat. And if you don't get the organ meat, I think you get extra ground beef or something.
Extra ground beef if you don't want the organ meat. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I guess I've not ordered a cow like that. I mean, I'm thinking the liver. What other organs are we going to eat, and what are you going to do with them?
So what do they call it? Sweetbreads? The
brain.
Yeah, it's actually some other organ. Anyway, kidneys, stuff like that.
I don't have a recipe for that. I've heard of liver and onions. I mean, I go to the local diner sometimes, say it couldn't be that bad to eat liver and onions because I think it's fried, right? I don't know, but the other organs I'm not sure about. That's just talking about the liver.
Yeah, so. I'm just I like steak and roast and ground beef, so I'm just gonna stick with that.
You don't want to go meet up for some liver and onions soon?
No. So my dad loved liver and onions, and we used to have to sit at the table until we finished ours. Even though we didn't like it, he did. And we had the grandkids over not too long ago, and we were telling them back in our day, because somebody was whining.
Yeah, way back.
Somebody was whining about whatever we were feeding them, and we said, back in our day, you sat at the table until you finished it, and they were like, like it was like we lived through torturous decades of abuse because we were forced to. I mean, the parents paid good money for the food. You were going to eat it. You were going to. Yes. I
remember I almost missed trick-or-treating one year when I was a kid because now I love meatloaf. Meatloaf is fantastic. A good meatloaf. But at the time as a kid, I hated it. My flavor palate was not as developed and exquisite as it is now. And my mother made me sit there at the table until I was probably 7, eat all the meatloaf, and I'm crying. I don't want to eat the meatloaf. And I got the ketchup, and it's before you had the squeeze bottle, you had the bottle, and I'm shaking my eyes out there to cover up. And I ate all that damn meatloaf, every bit of it.
So you could go trick-or-treating. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. That's why your head's so big. You ate all that good meatloaf.
All that meatloaf. I'm still thinking of the organ meat. I'm afraid to ask AI today. Give me recipes for different parts of organ meat from a cow.
Don't ask for it that way.
Bill just texted me and said, "Please don't eat liver and onions while you're living in the small quarters that you're in."
Oh, my husband, Bill. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Yes.
You're living in too small a space for you to come in and go, "Hey, liver and onions tonight." That'll smell up the whole.
He actually loves liver and onions, and the reason that we don't cook it at our house, even when we have a house, is I don't like it.
Okay,
he cooks it when I'm gone.
Okay, here's what happens, Laura. Rich comes on the chat room with Facebook. He says, "We make great organ meat tacos with hearts, kidneys, liver, and testicles."
Oh, Rich.
Don't
invite me over for dinner, Rich.
No, I've never heard of such. Now, I do know that my local taco bar, my little taco shop that nobody knows about, that it's authentic and you almost have to speak like Spanish, even walk in because they don't understand you. I know how to say dos tacos. Anyway, they have lengua tacos, which is tongue. And that always made me wonder if the cow could taste me while I ate him. So I felt like I was giving a kiss to a cow, but the texture of the lengua did. I didn't mind the flavor as the texture. I'm a texture guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and my husband grew up in third world countries. He traveled a lot of places for the military and had exposure to a lot of different stuff that
Yeah.
isn't common here. So he likes all of that stuff too. So maybe Rich can invite my husband over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Rocky Mountain oysters is a thing, right? I
I
mean,
like those are good. They're fried, so you can eat anything if it's fried.
I don't think men should. I don't think men should eat those out of solidarity for the
I was
male
reading
counterpart.
men have low T, all this low T commercial stuff, and it's because we're not eating the organ meat, including those.
The oysters. Go for it.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out, buddy. I'm
All
gonna
right.
eat my fillet.
All right. Laura Carno, Faster Colorado. You said
How
I
do we
should.
get on these topics?
I don't know. I'm just sitting here going, you questioned my solidarity with manhood. You shouldn't eat that in solidarity with those things. I don't even know. I stand with the men and the bulls.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
All right, Laura Carno, we got to go.
I do get some of these comments afterward. They're like, I cannot believe the things you and Jimmy talk about. I'm like, I know.
And
That's what happens. I forgot to look up our decade. I'm putting on my list right now to look up our 10-year anniversary.
If folks want to win the organ meat or the rest of the cow, where do they go?
Oh my gosh, that's how we got off on this topic. Fastercolorado.org. Scroll down just a tiny bit and click enter.
And only 6 days to do it. Only 6
Only
days.
6 days. Only 6 days.
You too could win some cow balls from Laura Carno, or you could win the other stuff. Laura Carno.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Arloa says, my dad was a cattleman and she grew up eating the oysters. Arloa grew up eating those.
She doesn't have to have solidarity with the male of other species.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. Bye. LauraCarno.com. FasterColorado.org. FasterColorado.org. I don't know if I've ever had liver and onions. I really don't. I've seen it like at little diners and things, but I'm just starting to read about different all the ailments that we have, and we've been eating processed foods and things. And I think it's important that we start to realize, how did our diet change? That's where I began this rabbit trail. We weren't eating processed foods. We're eating more of the animals. We were eating more grass-fed fed and antibiotic-free stuff. So you kind of start looking at how our diet has changed over the last many years. And it's not just been the red dyes and the yellow dyes and the Fruit Loops. It's been, we're just not eating a lot of the wholesome goodness of animals. And then I ended up I saw some supplement that was supposed to give me all the organ meat with a capsule. And I'm investigating that, to whether that's real, because that sounds a lot better than putting it in a taco. Yeah. I have had the oysters, and I think they're quite good with Tabasco. You put some Tabasco on those. There's a legendary, Severance, Colorado. There's a legendary place of Rocky Mountain oysters. Yeah, my son had a track meet there one time, had a 3 hours gap between events, and I went over there and had oysters. They were good. All right, question of the day. Do you believe in Sasquatch? Stacy says, I do travel to different states, but I've never seen the Sasquatch. I do believe there could be some out there. If I ever see one, I think it'd be the one animal person that would make me feel scared hiking. Yeah. Somebody said that Colorado's well known. Oh, Bruce's Bar. Thank you, Bruce's. That's it. Bruce's Ball Shop or something like that. Yep, I've been up there. I think it's in Severance or somewhere west of Windsor. Yeah, it's up there. I have to ask you a question. Have you seen the Sasquatch? That's our question of the day. Do you believe in the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot? And Bigfoot in Nebraska are goose decoys. Nebraska's not on the list, probably too flat. They need forest to hide in. But I got to ask you the question, have you ever seen one? Somebody earlier was commenting that Colorado's known for Sasquatch or Bigfoot sightings. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that it was known for that. I'm not really a camper, okay? And I know that's hard for you to believe. I'm not camping. If the hotel review is below 4 stars or 3, then I feel like I'm camping, right? I'm not a big camper. I think I've been camping as an adult one time, and I thought we died. It was all. Yeah, I went with some buddies. One's a pastor of a church, and a friend of mine. And anyway, it was years ago, and yeah, I didn't enjoy it. They enjoyed it. We went on a hike, and they said, wear your hiking shoes, and I didn't have any hiking shoes. I thought the closest thing I had, this was in the 90s, right? I had some Doc Martens, and they look like hiking shoes, but they're not real great. I had blisters on my feet the size of my feet. It was awful. Anyway, that was hiking. That was camping. We camped overnight one night, and I couldn't get out of there quick enough. Anyway, so I guess I've never seen the Sasquatch. All right, feel free to let us know if you know a place. It's a Sasquatch Awareness Day was yesterday. And we're talking about the Sasquatch, but I remember growing up, I don't know if my dad was true or false, but he always kind of alluded that he believed in the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot, because he grew up in the piney woods of East Texas. And at times in the piney woods of East Texas, my dad would say, "You want to go on a hunt at night?" And you can go. But I think that was like snipe hunting. I think it was a joke. He wanted to send me out to probably be eaten by the wolves. All right. Bigfoot Field Research Organization has a website to see reports from every state, including Colorado. All right, now we have information out there, breaking information. If you want to know about Bigfoot sightings, Bigfoot Field Research Organization has a website to see the reports from every state, including Colorado. Here's a question I have for you today. And it's serious. It's a real serious question. We're going to do the stolen meme section of the show. Got a lot of things on the schedule I haven't gotten to yet, but I want to know, we live in the age of cell phones, right? People take photos of their food. They take photos of everything in the world. How it is that in modern day, if Sasquatch or Bigfoot's still out there, how is it that no one's getting any new photos? The photos of Sasquatch or Bigfoot that we see are the photos that supposedly happened in the 70s and 80s, like a real fuzzy Polaroid. Everywhere we go, people have a cell phone with them. They have a device like this one right here. They have a little iPhone. Okay, so I just want to know why it is that we don't have more photos of it. It seems like, and I'm open to it if you say that the Bigfoot or Sasquatch is out there, but it seems like in the modern era that we live in, that there would be more photographic evidence of it because people have their phones everywhere. Jeff brings up, he just popped up on the Twitter feed, the X feed, he says trail cams. See, there's another thing. We have trail cams now, and we're not getting any new imagery of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Even if the trail cams are run by the government doesn't want you to know they exist like aliens exist. People have cell phones everywhere. So if you're encountering Sasquatch, it seems like people would be posting photos all the time. But I don't see any new photos. Ray pops in on the YouTube account and says, "Jimmy, I lived in New Jersey. I thought I had seen what looked like a Sasquatch. Turned out it was the most hairy guy I'd ever seen as a kid." Yep. I'm just having flashbacks to the time as a little kid. You know, as a little kid, you want to always be in the hotel swimming pool. You go to a hotel, they have a swimming pool. As a kid, you want to go to the swimming pool. I remember being a little kid, and I guess it was the first time I saw a beast in a swimming pool. I didn't realize, because it wasn't genetically, at least something I was doing with my father, this guy was covered with fur. He was a furry fella, and not like dressed up furry like a Democrat. He was like, yeah, all over the shoulder. And I saw that, and as a kid, I'm like, I remember just a little, I probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. I was like, looking at it like, is it real? Can you poke it? Is it safe to get in the water with it? Will it eat me? I didn't know that people could be that hairy. I just didn't know. Okay, Highway Living says on the YouTube, there are a number of new pics and short videos. Some are suspect and some are interesting. Okay, so now we got to go to the website and look them up. It seems like they should be circulating, like Instagram, go viral, that kind of thing, but they're not. All right, if you believe in Sasquatch or Bigfoot or have ever seen the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, we would love to hear from you. Tomorrow I want to get into this topic here. I was thinking just recently of the peace deal in the Middle East broke out, and I was thinking about how all these presidents that have always declared peace and going to save us, some were more hawkish like George W. Bush, some were Barack Obama. I'm kind of thinking of how history judges presidents as they go on. And I don't have time to get into the whole diatribe that I've penned out, and I read some Terrence K. Williams as well. But I think it's going to be fascinating that as we watch more success from Donald Trump, again, there's some people that really hate Donald Trump. Maybe they'll never get over it. Some people need to be institutionalized. They hate so much. It's vitriolic. It's nasty. It's ugly. But I see history already kind of saying he's the peace president. They can call him the Nazi. They can call him the whatever, but he's bringing about peace. And he's doing that so wonderfully. And then I think as time distances us from other presidents, we start to see the truth. For instance, Jimmy Carter was not a very popular man when he was voted out of office, but by the end of his life and really within years of his presidency, people said, man, he was a nice guy, really nice guy, solid dude, bad president. Okay, well, I think that's kind of the consensus that we landed, that his policies sucked and his leadership, but he was a good guy. He meant very well, I think. Obama was known for his flowery speeches, and yet the more time and space it comes from Obama, the more corrupt you realize that the Messiah Obama really was. Barack Hussein Obama, I think, is going to go down as one of the most corrupt presidents in our lifetime. But in the time of at the contemporary time of his presidency, he was seen to be transformational. I think what he will be known as transformational is transforming us into the place of lawfare and warfare and destroying your political enemy. And I think we'll talk more about that. George W. Bush is another one. George W. Bush, I think, is probably a well-intentioned guy, but his foreign policy at the time, I was like, yeah, you got to get him. You got to get old Saddam. But at the time now, 5, 10, 15, 20 years passes, and we're still going after an enemy, and we have not defined what the win is. And even though there were some things that I could appreciate about George W. Bush, there's other times that I look and go, wow, that's not, as time and space grow more distance, I have more I guess, clear thought as to the legacy of what George W. Bush will be. John Bolton, at the time I liked him. I got a photo. I got to bring that out and show it. And I got a story here. John Bolton might be in big trouble. Evidently, there's reporting that he leaked. A lot of the information he leaked was through his wife. I'll get to that story. We're going to tease that one for tomorrow. And also the Department of Justice could move this week for James Comey to have his lawyers removed from his case and have to get new attorneys because of a conflict of interest. We'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. But I want to talk about this as presidents that as you grow further from them, maybe they were presidents that you really enjoyed, but time and space and just the space in history, you go, okay, yeah, that was a bad policy. Okay, yeah, I probably should have had a different thought about that. And I think it's a healthy place to be because you say, you know what, I probably used to be much more of a hawk of a Republican because that's what I thought you're supposed to be. But now we've seen it illustrated that you don't have to be a hawk to bring about peace. You just have to be willing to long-term wars are not necessarily always going to be the option. So anyway, I want to dive into this because I think Barack Obama, and Terrence Williams put this out on his Facebook page and a blog that I started reading, and I said, he is so right about that Barack Obama will be remembered. I think it's going to be a growing march of history. And maybe some of you were Obama supporters, and I'm guessing now with time and space, a lot of you go, yeah, I can't believe I voted for him. I have a relative that voted for him twice, and then they're like, God, I regret that. I should have known. But he's done a lot of bad things in office and out of office. One of his last act of office was he was spying on Donald Trump. He used agencies that were meant to protect America to go after and stalk and tap and wiretap a political opponent. He put the intelligence tools into as campaign weapons, and that would be what a king would do. That'd be tyranny. And so I think Barack Obama is going to be, as history judges him and he's exposed for what he truly was, is going to be deemed and dubbed, and history will judge him as a very corrupt, divisive president, and really a part of American history that we need to make sure we never relive. If you just look at how it was that Richard Milhouse Nixon was threatened to be impeached from office and kicked out of office, removed, and he resigned because of wiretapping a campaign office. What Barack Obama did about Donald Trump was, I think, as bad, if not worse, than what Richard Nixon did. And yet, for some reason, the media only wants to they only want to continue to talk about the flowery speech and the tone of the voice of Barack Obama. But what he did just in that one instance is far worse than what Richard Nixon did as well. Also, we got a whole list. Terrence Williams just put out this list yesterday. Lied about Benghazi, abandoned Americans under fire, then blamed YouTube videos while heroes died waiting for help. Remember the Benghazi thing? A lot of folks forget about that. He said, oh, they just got attacked. They were ticked off by these YouTubers, these hipsters out there. No, that had nothing to do with the YouTube video. Real presidents will face the truth, and cowards hide behind talking points. And Barack Obama always had a talking point. There's a hope. Barack Obama was the one famously, and Terrence K. Williams put it out there. He's the guy that famously referred to, ready? Should we be concerned about ISIS, Mr. President? No, that's the JV team. He laughed them off, and then you watch what they did all across the Middle East. Well, Barack Obama's like, it's the JV team. Well, they're cutting off heads and killing people and killing Americans. It's the JV team. Anyway, we'll talk about that because I think the perspective of history, which presidents in your mind, in your lifetime, and a lot of us have different spans of life. Some of you are much older than me. Some of you are younger than me. We all probably fall in that Gen X crowd, probably the average, but there's some people that have a different history. Which presidents that you remember in your lifetime have risen in their level of memory, and which ones have declined? And I would have to say that Joanne says Obama should go to prison. You know, if you go through this list, he spied on reporters. This is why the reporters still very loyal to Barry Hussein Obama. But he was tapping phones. Remember, you had reporters that were talking about they noticed strange movement on their keyboard as they realized that their computers were being hacked. He weaponized the IRS to crush the Tea Party groups. Remember that? The Tea Party groups couldn't get their 501c3B, or they couldn't get any approval. He did all that with the lowest learner, I believe was the IRS person. He came out and said that we're America, all countries. What about American exceptionalism? All countries think they're exceptional. America's no big deal. I think as history is written, the legacy about Obama is going to be that of corruption. I think that, and it all pans back, my thoughts on this started, I'll just kind of tell you how the Lakey brain works, is after the peace deal was struck in the Middle East last week, and they're sort of working on some things. It's a little wobbly, it's been wobbly, but the hostages route, which is a key thing. Bill and Hillary came out and congratulated. There were a few Democrats that would come out and say, good job, Donald Trump. Credit where credit's due. You got it done. And Barack Obama, to my knowledge, has not done that, because Barack Obama saw himself as the Nobel Peace Prize winner, even though he admitted he did nothing for it. Barack Obama saw himself as the guardian of the earth and the Messiah that's come to calm the waters and freeze the icebergs or whatever he wanted to do. And now you find out that Donald Trump's actually getting some of these things accomplished that him and other Obama, Clinton, Bush, everybody wanted to do. And that's why I think Obama had a tough time, because I think the more that Trump is successful in these areas, despite the exploding hair of these protesters on the streets, no kings, the people that supported Kamala Harris's coronation as a Democrat candidate. But I think the more that time and space develops and Donald Trump becomes more successful, and if you get more peace that we get, that it exposes that Barack Obama was the guy that was supposedly the soothsayer of the world, and Barack Obama, I think, will be judged as a failure, both foreign and especially domestic right here. He did not lead the country. He poisoned it with warfare and lawfare. He betrayed the country in so many ways. That's my opinion about Barack Obama. I encourage, I'll retweet Terrence K. Williams. He's a fun follow on the Facebook. I don't know Terrence K. Williams, but he put out a whole list of 9 things about history will not remember Obama for his speeches, but they will remember the scandals that really were never reported during his presidency and have not been reported immediately after his presidency. But as the drumbeat of history marches on, we're learning more and more about the corruption of Barack Obama. And I think what's going to be most interesting is who's going to end up being the most corrupt in history. Is it going to be Richard Nixon? What Barack Obama did far outshines what Richard Nixon ever did. But I think the drumbeat of history is going to be interesting to see who measures up, because now we're getting to the bottom of what Barack Obama was involved in lawfare and creation of lawfare. And then I think you got the stories that will still come out, and there's much less loyalty to Joseph Rubilaud Biden. And so as the stories start to percolate and circulate more, as people turn their long knives on Joe Biden, I think they'll turn on Joe Biden much more quickly. We're already seeing that than they ever do on Barack Obama. I think Barack Obama and Joe Biden will race in American history for the most corrupt administration that we've had in at least modern American history. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow, a little historical perspective. And I'll give you more of the list from Terrence K. Williams about the disaster that Barack Obama was. And I think with each and every day, and actually each and every success of Donald Trump, I think it becomes more and more evident that Barack Obama was a fraud and a fakester and a charlatan when it comes to the credit he took and what he brought to America. I think the legacy of Obama is nothing good. And I think that's where you come at. So anyway, tell me I'm wrong. Feel free to do that. Hey, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Listen, if you're thinking of buying or selling, we talk about this. You got to have that conversation with Sherry. And it's more than just a conversation. It can be an interview. You're going to have a conversation with any realtor. Even if they're the person, your best buddy, they've known them, that doesn't mean they're the best fit for you. And this is where you can go wrong in real estate. Real estate has the potential to build generational wealth for you and your family and your grandkids and your kids, but you got to make the right decisions. And making the right decisions sometimes means you got to have a different perspective. And sometimes I'm not saying you can't hire your best friend as a realtor, but sometimes you're worried about making your best friend happy in a commission, or you're worried about getting the very best person to sell your home and get you top dollar for your home. At some point, you got to look out for you, top dollar, and the generational wealth. And Sherry can help you do that. At least have that conversation. I call them a strategy session with Sherry, but it's really just more of an interview, and she can interview you and find out kind of what your hopes, dreams, aspirations, your timeline, kind of your must-haves, your negotiables out there, and then you can interview her on strategy and pricing, and then you're going to find out, wow, I think this is a good team, or it may not be a good team. But listen, you got to have that conversation. Don't just go with the realtor you've always known, or that sold everybody else's house in the neighborhood, or sold your house 10 years ago. Why don't you make sure you have someone that's up with the current market trends and really does their homework and has all the connections you could ever imagine to make your real estate experience best. And I think Sherry's right up there, top of the top. So homeswithsherry.com, have the interview. I call it a strategy session. You can do it via the phone. You maybe want to have coffee together. And listen, she'll be real with you. If she thinks, you know what, I got a friend that knows that area much better than I do, and she'll give you a free referral. I mean, she just wants she wants your real estate dreams to come true. And now that's the business side. Let's talk about the personal side. If you're a veteran, military, she will take a cut in her commissions, give you a discount so that you keep more money in your pocket at the time of your sale. In any transaction, she'll take a portion of her commission and donate that to the charity of your choice. That's how she rolls. If you're maybe you're a caretaking family, maybe you've an elderly parent has been moved out of their home and you're looking at a house, I got to sell this thing. I told the story last week with her of all the things she did to help a family do that, as they had to move a family member off to assisted living, and they had a house that had fallen in real disrepair. They needed to get it done. They were out of state, and Sherry just stepped up and said, let me handle this for you. And they ended up with some major sewage problems that had not been discovered, and just had to get it ready so that at least could pass inspection. And Sherry did that for the family. So listen, best of the best. I don't recommend things that aren't the best to you. I really do. Homeswithsherry.com. Have the conversation. If you're in that I-25 corridor in Colorado, make sure you make a call. It's Parker, Aurora, Broomfield, Thornton, Longmont. She can help you. Windsor, good morning, Windsor. If you're out in Greeley, listen, just talk to Sherry. And again, if there's an area that she feels that maybe she could recommend, she will. But homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Go to the website. Have that conversation. And if you're in Denver, Littleton, Lakewood, Park Meadows, maybe you're out in Parker, I don't know, make sure Trenday Aragua is not your next door neighbor. She knows all about the schools you want to be. By the way, interest rates, there's always stories about interest rates. She can kind of help you get connected to those options on interest rates and plans for down payment, plan to buy, if you find the house of your dreams, how to buy that house before you even sell your house, because contingency offers in a hot market oftentimes don't go very well. So she's got all the programs for you. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, everything else is going to wait till tomorrow. I got a lot of things on the list I didn't get to. I appreciate all of you being a part of the show. I want to remind you, if you'd ever like to contact us on the show, info@jimmylakey.com. You'd ever like me to tell your story as a business owner, the way I tell Sherry Crees and others, homeswithsherry.com. That's her website. But if you want to reach me and become a sponsor, just send me an email, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com, info@jimmylakey.com. All right, tomorrow we'll get down to some business on some charity work. I'm about a month out from heading to Rwanda for a charity, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Couple of new sponsors, I think, this week signed up, I believe. I know one did. I don't think he watches the show, though. He's another person. And so we'd love to have your help there. Go check out the site, check out why we do what I do, why I do what I do, and the mission in my life that I never thought would be there. is taking care of children primarily in Rwanda, and it's a holistic approach. Education's top priority, but we had to figure out, you got to buy them clothes and you got to feed them, and sometimes when they're homeless, you got to make sure they have shelter. You got to build a house here or there. But it's that's what we do with Rivers Promise, and I'd love for you to learn more about it. Producer Chad was there with us about 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, and you will see on the media page there, I believe you'll see a documentary about 5, 10, 15 minutes that you can watch. It was my son, who is River, by the way. That's why I named it Rivers Promise. It was my son going back for the first time as a man. He was he's a senior in high school, and he goes back as a man about to go into college, and this was his journey. He had just turned 18, and it's his journey back. He had been there back as a child and childhood memories, but now he comes face to face with returning to Rwanda, that this was the place that he was born, but his destiny was somewhere else, and yet we're still helping. And it's a real fun little documentary. It won't take much of your time, but it'll give you the heart and soul behind what we do there at riverspromise.org. You'll see some of the story of my son's early years in an orphanage and all that stuff. There's some really good interviews in there. A lady named Tabu, you got to see the Tabu interview. That's on there. Riverspromise.org. Check it out. Make a donation. And tomorrow I'm going to be unveiling kind of the countdown to my departure, and I need your help to do that. Need your help to do that. All right? Everybody good? All right, I'm good. Let's do the meme roulette. Stolen meme section of the show. And somebody messaged me yesterday after the show, said, well, you put on your glasses. Why don't you wear them all the time during the show? Well, they're not glasses. They're readers. Okay, they're readers. And they are sexy, aren't they? I just want to show you one more time. I look very smart. They're readers, right? And I don't need them all the time. I only need them when I'm reading. And I can read without them. Don't get me wrong. I can read without them, but that's just less eye strain. Last night I was reading a little bit of reading, and I'm like, man, I'm just trying to focus, and it's dark, and I put on the readers, and I can see, and I didn't have to. Yeah, I got good eyes. I passed all the eye tests. They just said, get some readers, is all they said. And I didn't want the ones that go on my nose like an old guy. Didn't want those. Let's see. Will the sweepstakes Bronco come up with a bobblehead for the dashboard updated with glasses? If you win the Broncos in the sweepstakes, win.riverspromise.org. If you win the Bronco, no, but we have bobbleheads available. Jimmy Lakey bobbleheads. If you don't have one, I need to get those up back as a donation. I donated all those to Rivers Promise, and I should put those up as a donation item, that for a donation, you get it. We got rid of a lot of bobbleheads that way, autographed bobbleheads for donations. I don't know. We'll figure it out, Jeff. If you actually win that thing, I'm sure I know a guy that can get you a bobblehead. Call producer Chad. Don't call me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do the meme roulette, stolen meme section of the show. It's an amazing part of the program where we steal memes from around the globe because we're too lazy to make them ourselves. So let's do it together, shall we? Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Is that Big Lucy? No, that's different than Big Lucy. That's Big somebody. No kings, like no walking, no hiking, and no biking. Yep, she's definitely got that. No kings going on there. So did Big Lucy. They're shooting herself in the street there. Sick woman. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Here's an all text meme. I'll read it for those of you listening. My wife and I are sitting on the couch watching TV. I hear a text. Realizing I left my phone in the kitchen, I get up, go to the kitchen to check it, and it's a text from my wife. Please bring chips on your way back. You know what, at that point, rather than saying all the things that you're thinking of saying, you say, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, dear. Be happy to bring you some chips on the way back. In your mind, you're thinking other thoughts, but the Bible says bring your thoughts into captivity. That's when you do that. Yes, dear, I'll bring the chips. I'll bring them. I'm on my way with a smile on my face. I reenacted it. I'm a great actor. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. When you're so woke, you only want the minorities removed. This is true. I've talked about this before. You got rid of the Uncle Ben. You got rid of the Aunt Jemima. You got rid of the Pocahontas there at the Land O'Lakes, but we kept the white lady on the Sun-Made Raisins. We kept old Cracker Little Debbie and the Cracker from the Quaker era. Yeah, we kept all those. Keep the white people. That's what we did. But that's how woke we are as a country. Isn't that amazing? We're so woke that we only kept the crackers around. Round around the globe we go, where we steal all for diversity. Look at this one. It's Bernie, it's Mom Dami, and it's AOC. a Jewish socialist, a Muslim socialist, and a Latina socialist walk into a bar. So who's paying the bill? They're the types, those are the types that complain to the manager just to hope they get the whole thing comped. Nobody's going to pay for it. They're going to complain and become little Karens and little witches and complain and get the whole thing comped. Yeah, and they'll stiff the waiters and waitresses, no tip. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Clarence Thomas, the Babylon Bee headline, gently explains to that not all black people are mentally disabled, just her. Yeah, you're an old Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's who we're talking about. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Not all people are mentally disabled, just you, says Clarence. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. I'm no basketball player, baseball player, but this is a shortstop. Is that small people humor? Can we do that here on this program? We used to call that midget humor, but I don't think you can say midgets anymore, can you? Little person? Yeah, that's a shortstop on the screen there. That's a stop on the screen. Round around the globe. It's producer Chad, it's not me. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Ladies and China here for just a moment there. The gong is up. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been gonged off the stage. If you remember the old Gong Show, which I don't, but I heard about him. If you'd like to be a part of the show, don't forget, I'd love to talk about you, your business, and all the great things you do in the world, community, whatever. And just send us an info. We'll give you an advertising packet and custom make something for you. No matter what part of the country you're in, this thing goes national. Thousands of earballs will hear the show by the end of the day on the podcast. Maybe people listen on the potty. I don't know. The podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, those of you who watch it all throughout the day, stream it again. YouTube, Rumble, all the YouTube feeds, and we're several different platforms out there, and I appreciate all of you being a part of it. My name is Jimmy Lakey, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and don't forget, if you want to be a part of the show in any way, communicate with us, info@jimmylakey.com. If you would like to donate to the charity, go to info@jimmylakey.com to contact me on the show. Rivers here, and tomorrow, going to begin a big countdown to my bon voyage to Africa. Don't worry, some of you know we do the show from there as well. It's been a pleasure. I mean it very well. Yeah, we're on time, I can see. I like the clear glasses. All right, God bless you. God bless America. I had thoughts in my head that I brought them into captivity. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace be unto you. I'm out of here.